Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I hope everyone's doing well. So this is our first in our webinar series, Evergreen webinar series. Today's topic is reimplement or upgrade, how to choose your path to success. Now, we came up with this topic based on countless interviews we have with our customers, and it's a very common a question that comes up. And surprisingly enough, upgrade is not always the right answer for you. It can sometimes be reimplement, but how to choose, but how to know when reimplement is the choice for you is a very complicated way of finding out. So today we have Pasang Gunawarna, a 20-year veteran of the ERP industry, 10 years of which he spent at IFS. So he knows the ins and outs of the IFS platform and has worked on projects across the globe, across a myriad of industries as well. And we have Manju Hettiarati from IFS, pre-sales architect for IFS Asia. She has 16 plus years of experience in the industry and has worked with customers across Asia. She will present some case studies on how an option with reimplement worked out for one customer and upgrade worked out for another customer. Whereas Pasan will give you a methodology of how to evaluate your digital strategy to decide whether reimplementation or an upgrade is the best choice for you. So let me start by giving a brief introduction to us, Enterprise Analytics. We are an IFS services and channel partner with offices in Australia, Sri Lanka, Middle East, Bangladesh, UK, Canada, and North America. We were the IFS Services Partner of the Year in 2022, and we have had many milestones, including the first IFS sale, IFS Cloud upgrade in Southeast Asia, and the first IFS Cloud sale, first new sale in Southeast Asia as well. So let me just pass it on. Also, just a little bit of housekeeping. So we'll let the presenters speak, give out their things, and you can enter your Q&A questions into the Q&A box, and we'll ask the presenters all those questions at the end of their presentation. Yeah. Feel free to ask anything you think is relevant, or maybe it doesn't actually have to be relevant. You know, if you think it's something that is something that's on your mind, please feel free to drop it in the Q&A box, and I'll ask the question from each presenter at the end of the session. All right, Pasang, over to you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Hello, everyone. So I'll directly jump into it. So just to give you introduction about myself before I go into the presentation. So I have been working as I started my journey as a consultant. Then I moved into project management plus consulting to finally end up in the management side, as well as I have started working in IFS when IFS is in version 2004. So I have seen the product, how the product changed up to the cloud level and how the product has progressed with the latest technology and everything. So when we are right now, as our company, we are dealing with multiple customers in different regions. Based on the conversations we have with our customers who are in all versions of IFS, the common question that comes to us is whether I should upgrade, and if I'm considering IFS Cloud, what is the best approach for me? Should I re-implement to cloud, or whether I should do an upgrade to IFS Cloud? So that's a common question that we get. So that's what we are trying to address during this session as well. So like Rami said, so we have been working, we were early adapter to IFS Cloud. So we started our first project in 21R1, which was the first release of cloud. And we have been working with customers who are using IFS Apps 8, Apps 9, Apps 10, who have been migrating from their versions to the cloud version. So that actually helps. Being an early adapter to IFS Cloud, working with the customers firsthand, gives us experience which are invaluable, which we feel like we need to share with other customers who are still thinking about making this shift, which helps you. So with that, I'll jump into the presentation, the points that we are going to discuss. So this is the only slide we are going to see throughout the presentation. So now, what is the main difference between an upgrade and a re-implementation to start with? So upgrade is basically, it's something we call it as a technical thing that we do, where we take the existing solution, whatever the version that you're using, and we try to bring the same solution with the same data to the latest version of cloud. Whereas re-implementation is looking at your solution in a fresh set of eyes. It's similar to doing a new implementation of an ERP, but the only thing is you have a reference, which is your old system. But we will take a fresh cut of everything. We will do everything newly as a new implementation using the cloud environment. So that's the main two difference. Other than that, I will not go into detail. But if you have any questions on this, even after in the Q&A session, you can ask. So when you evaluate these two options to make the decision what you should take as the correct path, so we have identified 6 points which is very important to customers to consider to make that decision. So I'll try to explain you those 6 points and how it applies to your organization as well. So the first point that we see as one of the most important things that the customer should consider is the number of releases the customer needs to jump into the cloud version. I'll take an example. So if you are a apps 8 customer who's thinking of coming to IFS Cloud, so you have 3 main releases to come up. So from 8 to 9, 10 to cloud. Now, if you take even cloud have like multiple releases up to date. The first version of cloud was 21 R1, but right now it's 23 R1. So the 2 years have been evolved in IFS Cloud product, and IFS releases 2 major releases every year, and every month there are supplementary releases which we call as service pack related releases. So the product keeps on evolving and improving on a monthly basis. So if you are constrained to come from your current version now, if you are in a version like Apps 8, so the jump that you're looking at is very high. Then if you are a customer who's in Apps 10, the jump that you're looking is very low. So how does this impact your business? Now, if you're using App 8 solution, the solution that you're using is might be having lesser functionality compared to what you're having in IFS Cloud right now. So certain process that we have created on the application can be done better in the cloud version. So if the jump is high, looking at the business solution, what you have in a fresh set of eyes, using IFS Cloud would be a better approach than just trying to take what you have right now to the cloud version. So that's why we say, so if we have a lesser number of versions to jump, then you'll be in the low side, which is tending more towards the upgrade. But if you have more versions to jump, then you'll be in the high side. So then you have to consider the implementation as an option as well. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is the level of customization and the plan retention. Now, if we look at IFS customers, most of the customers I have seen, other than one customer actually, have had some sort of a customization to their product to tailor-make the product to the customer's business. Because if you take any ERP, it covers like 80 to 90% of your business, but there's this 10% which is unique to your business, which is not 100% fit to your business solution, right? So that's where we do customization. But there are certain customers who might do a lot of customizations to suit your product to their business requirement as well. So you should evaluate how many customizations, modifications, integrations, etc. we have done to the product to tailor-make the version that you're using to match the business requirement. So if you have not done a lot of customization, which is really good actually, then you have low number of customizations. That means you don't have a problem in rethinking about the re-implementation as well. But if you have a lot of customizations, then you have a customized solution. So a heavily customized solution. So if you are trying to remap that solution, the effort that you need to put for a re-implementation would be very high, because you have to relook at all those customizations and try to find better solutions and etc. So the study phase would be bigger. Whereas if you go for an upgrade, you don't need to spend the same time, where you'll be focusing on bringing most of the stuff what you have right now to the latest version of cloud. So based on that, you will make the decision. So based on the number of customizations you have, you can make the decision. So if you have higher number of customizations, you would tend more towards upgrade, because upgrade, you can see there are 2 phases in the upgrade. First one is called code upgrade. That's where we handle the customization. Then the second one is what we do on the database level. So that will be the more preferred solution if you are having high customization. Then point number 3 is fitment of current business process. So this is relating to the first point I was talking about as well. Now, if you are using all version of IFS, and if you have a solution which was mapped like 5 years back, the business practices that you had 5 years back would be different from what you are having right now. Especially with the time we faced during COVID, the businesses changed rapidly, right? There were a lot of changes in the industries, businesses, how the businesses operate, the practices going from physical oriented to digital oriented on certain areas. So the business change which took part from the initial solution to right now would be sometimes a major difference. Sometimes you might be having a solution which is still caters to your business perfectly. So there are minor changes that needs to be done. So based on that, you have to think how well does the ERP fit my current business practices. So if it's a good fit, then you can think of an upgrade because you don't need to do a lot of changes. But if your business solution does not match to your business practices, then you have to think about re-implementing. Why? Then you'll be re-looking at your business process, then trying to find the best solution in the system, which is usually done in a re-implementation. So that's point number 3. Point number 4 is quality of current data. So this is also an important point because now everybody knows when if we input garbage to the system, we get output garbage as well, right? So when you're entering the data, in most cases, we do a lot of data cleansing and we get everything right and we put to the system at the first one. But over time, there can be a lot of redundant data collected in the system. There can be a lot of errors created by business users, certain things which you can reverse, certain things you just need to get rid of. So if you have a lot of garbage data in your current system, then going for upgrade will take all that garbage data back to your latest version of IFS as well. Whereas if you go for a re-implementation, you're not going to take your garbage data to the latest version. You'll be taking a fresh cut. You'll be doing a new basic data migration, new balances migration, and you'll be having a fresh system to start your work with. So that's a decision that you have to make. So look at the business data available in the system and see how relevant is this? Is this accurate? Do we need to take the data as a fresh cut or not? And based on that, you can make the decision. So this is where you make your 4th point as a decision point. Then the 5th point is the number of data sets and the volume to transfer. Now this is how much data do you have in your database basically, and how important it is the data that you're having. So I'll take a classic example from service industry. Now if you are in the service industry, let's say automobile industries, customers usually call and ask like about the historical data, right? They will know, even you will want to see when was the last oil change was done, like when was the last repair done, and whether it needs to be done again. So the historical data plays a vital role in an industry like that. So if we are working on an industry like that, the continuation of all data to the new version is very critical. But there can be industries where you don't need to have a lot of historical data. Then you just need to take you can work with a new fresh set of data and start working from there onwards. So based on that, you can see if you need the historical data and the number of data volume is high as well. So you will tend more towards an upgrade. And if on the other case, you will tend more towards a re-implementation. Why this volume of transfer is important? Now, if you have a lot of data, if you are going to do a re-implementation, there's a lot of data to be cleansed and to be prepared for the migration to the database as well, right? So the effort that you're looking at, the timeline that you're looking at for the re-implementation could be higher. Whereas if you're doing an upgrade, you don't need time for that. It comes automatically to the latest version. So the total timeline will be lesser in that case. So that's why the volume of the transfer is important to make your decision. Then finally, I think for me, this is one of the most important points as well. The threshold for cutover for the cutover downtime. Now, if you take an example now, let's say, again, if you go back to something like, let's say you are an industry, you are a business who are operating in multiple countries where there's someone working in the system any given point of time. So, and the business operation is very critical. You can't stop the operation. You need to have the system up and running because there are field service users or someone like that who's already always connected to the system to get the data. So if you are in a situation like that where you can't afford a system downtime, then always the preference would be to have the system up and running, right? So now why we are saying if the downtime is high, if the downtime is low, then you should consider upgrade. If the downtime is high, you should consider re-implementation. So if let's say so sorry. If the downtime is low, you should consider implementation. If the downtime is high, you should consider upgrade. The reason is now if you take an upgrade, there are certain set of activities we have to do irrespective of how many times we have done it in the past. For example, from the point you take your old database to the latest version, there are a sequence set of activities that we have to perform that must be done when you are doing the cutover point, which usually requires minimum like 3 to 4 days at least to get those activities done and corrected perfectly. Whereas if you take a re-implementation, we don't need to do everything at the cutover point. What we usually do is we do the data migration, everything in advance. We get the system setups, everything correct, and we do the verifications as well. The only thing which is left in the cutover is to verify and to bring in the opening balances for inventory and financials related opening balances. So once you bring it in, your system is ready to go ahead with the re-implementation. So the time we are looking at on a re-implementation would be something like 1 or 2 days for the cutover. Whereas for upgrade, it might be 3 to 4, even more based on how complex your solution is. So looking at that, then based on the business criticality, you have to make that decision. So these are the 6 points that we have seen on like almost all instances that we have discussed with the customer. But then again, these 6 points are independent from each other and dependent on your business practices. Why I'm saying that is now for me, let's say I'm an industry who is in the service industry. For me, the most important point is having a less downtime. So I can't afford a downtime in my system. So if that's the case, if that's the most important point for me, then I will always tend to go for the uh, which option? I will go for the pre-implementation option. So I'll simulate and show you something as well. Now just look at these changes. So I'm a customer where I have a big number of versions to jump. So like this is a configuration. So if you look at this configuration, so I have 4 points on the implementation side and 2 points on the upgrade side. So if I don't consider the business, I can immediately say you should go for a re-implementation. But what if the customer says, can keeping my all data is the most important, other things I can compromise on? If that's the case, though this diagram shows that 4 points are towards the implementation side, but still I have to consider the upgrade option. So likewise, it's dependent on the business practice. So you should always consider how we are going to use it in the business. And that will be the implement. And another example would be now quality of the key, sorry, this one, number of datasets and volume to transfer. Now, let's say you have a lot of historical data. I said if you have a lot of historical data, you should consider an upgrade or implementation. But there are other ways to handle the same scenario as well, right? So if you want to keep the old data, you can keep the old system as a legacy system, or you just select the data that you want to refer to continuously, and you get that data migrated to some other database or even to IFS as reference information. So likewise, there are different options that you can follow. So you don't need to always make a stick to saying this is what we have to do. That's where we actually come in. So what we do is if you are a customer who's considering an upgrade, we will be having a conversation with the customer on these points. Now, especially when it comes to making a decision on level of customization and plan retention. Now, to decide on that, whether you're going to keep a customization or not, you should know what is available in cloud, right? So if you are a customer who's working in the old version, you might not know what is available in cloud. So that's where we come in. We will tell you these customizations are not required. These are already covered in the cloud version through this functionality. This customization is not required 100%, but we need a smaller portion of that. And some of these customization we need to take into cloud as well because it's not available in the cloud version. So likewise, we will give a detailed analysis where you can make the right decision on how we are going to proceed on the how to make the final decision, whether you are going to make a re-implementation or whether you're going to upgrade. Because once you make the decision, you have to continue, because for both methods, IFS has defined a clear methodology for each method and how to handle it, and we are following that as well. So we as a partner will be guiding all our customers how we are going to handle that as well. So that's what I want to share with you. So there are 6 critical points that you should consider, and each point is debatable by your business practices. So you have to think what is more important to you, and based on that, make the decision with having a good conversation with the proper partner. Yeah, that's all, everyone. Thank you very much. So, Ramesh, do you want to take it up, or shall I pass it to Manuja? Ramesh, you're on mute.
Thanks, Pasan. That was a very informative this thing. So what I understood from that presentation was basically every business will have to evaluate their own needs and requirements before deciding on implementation or an upgrade. So guys, we're open up for questions now. Please feel free to drop in your questions in the Q&A box for Pasan based on his presentation. So Pasan, while you're waiting for everyone to drop their questions in, I have a couple of questions for you. Now, say we are a new IFS user. Would you recommend that we jump into the latest IFS Cloud 23R1, or should they start at an earlier version and then evaluate their needs as they go along?
The recommendation is always take the latest version available, because now IFS has a policy. If you are an existing cloud customer, they should look at upgrading, keeping your version within the latest 3 releases. We call them as SUs, service updates. So within the last 3 service updates. So going for the latest version will give you the opportunity to get the like the best version of IFS out there right now, right? So it's always recommended to go for the latest version as a new user, new customer. Yeah.
Great. So we have a question from Manu. The question is, can you please explain how the quality of data becomes vital when deciding if it should be an upgrade or reimplementation? Because in either case, we should, as a practice, follow a master data cleanup and necessary migrations.
You are correct on the second point what you said, but when it comes to upgrade, you don't get that opportunity of doing a master data clearing, because you'll be taking the full database and we are going to upgrade that database to the latest version. So whatever the data that you have created in your old version, the current version of IFS is going to appear in your cloud version as well. Because if you are to do a data cleansing, then you have to do that data cleansing in the application itself. But we know once you create a transaction in IFS, transaction related master data, you can't remove from the application. So even if the data is wrong, the data will be remaining in the database forever. Only option you have, certain places you can hide certain information from appearing, like on the basic data level, you can hide that. But overall, though you should clear it, if you are going for an upgrade, you don't have that option. If you are to clear it, then you have to do a data archive or something like that and take the old data out and take certain number of years to the new version, but that's a different approach. But if you're going for a re-implementation, you're absolutely correct. You get the chance of clearing all the data and bringing it to the latest version of IFS. I hope I answered the question.
Manu, I hope that was the answer you're looking for. Do you have any more questions for Pasan? Okay, I think that's it. Thank you, Pasan. Manuja, just like a hand off to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you, Pasan. Hi, everyone. So my name is Manuja. So I'm a solution architect, part of the Asia pre-sales team. So what I will do is that I'll continue the Pasan's presentation. So I'll just give you from IFS perspective, few of the customers who has been upgraded or that they re-implemented into that IFS cloud. So this is just a few customer names that I'm highlighting here today. So if I go into a bit of a detail, let's say, for example, that few customers specifically in that the APGMEA region, I wanted to highlight on the today's session. So if you just see that one customer is that ST Aerospace. So what they have done is that they have a customer in Singapore. So they are into the aerospace and defense. So they have recently upgraded. So this customer is actually upgraded from apps 9 to IFS Cloud. So if you see that, as Prasan mentioned, that one of the key asks from the ST Aerospace is that since they are into the defense, they had one of the key requirement is to keep their historical transactions. So when they were deciding to go into the IFS cloud, so they decided to go with the upgrade part because they wanted to move some of their existing transactions, mainly that the ask was to keep the 6 years of the transactions they wanted to continue in the system, mainly because of their industry. So they have decided to go with the upgrade path, and then they have moved from apps 9 into the IFS cloud. So this is a customer in Singapore close to us who has decided to do the upgrade process. And then on the other side, if I just take a few examples that the board drilling. So this is one of the customer in oil and gas. So they have gone with the reimplementation approach, mainly because that what happened was that they have done the apps 9 implementations in only on the few rigs. So when they move into the IFS cloud, they had a requirement to do that the implementations across some of the other rigs as well. So there were like around 22 rigs that they wanted to do that the implementations. So because of that, what they have decided was they have decided to go with the reimplementation approach because their scope was bigger on that the new that the implementation time. So they have, because of that, they have gone with the reimplementation approach. And then even now this customer recently has gone live even in the IFS cloud. So this is again another customer who has recently moved from older versions to the IFS cloud. And then if I just get another few examples that the Mirwal, so this is again a customer in Malaysia, a manufacturing customer that they have moved from apps 8 to IFS cloud. So this customer again has gone with the upgrade process because of their historical data and then the transactions that they were having in the system. But on top of this, the meanwhile, what they have done is they have identified few new modules that they wanted to implement during the upgrade process. So they have gone with the business planning, the business report, likewise few modules during that. So what they have done is they have done the upgrade, but with that they have done few implementations on new modules as well. So this is again another customer. And then from the Sri Lanka, we do have few customers who has decided to move into the IFS cloud from the older versions. One is that the Silver Mills and the other one is that the D. Samsons and Sons group as well. So these are like a few other references. And then again that we do have in Australia that the GeoFabric. So it's again a customer who is live in IFS cloud, moved from that the older versions into that the IFS cloud version. So this is just a few the names that I wanted to highlight, as well as IFS is using IFS internally as well. So we have moved from apps 10 to the IFS cloud, and then end-to-end that all our operations are running in IFS platform as well. So this is just a few the names, and I wanted to highlight during that. But if anyone wants us to get into more details, more use case studies, some of these case studies are available in the IFS cloud website. It's a publicly available where you can go into the details and you can go through that, even understand what are the business benefits that they have achieved during this whole move into that the IFS cloud the process as well. Okay. And then if I just go into a bit of a detail into that upgrade into the IFS cloud, Pasan has touched a few of these areas. So if I just re-emphasize that, so when you move into the upgrade IFS cloud, this will be your last upgrade that you will ever make. So once you move with that, you will be your last upgrade, and from here after that you will do that you will get the releases as well as you will do the updates into your environment. So so one of the things is that once you move into the IFS cloud, you can always stay up to date with our Evergreen solutions. So you will continuously get the Evergreen support also from the IFS perspective, from the product perspective with that the IFS cloud solution. And then from the releases perspective, again, Pasan touched this part. So in IFS Cloud, how the releases will work is that in IFS, we release 2 major releases in 1 fiscal year. So you will get one released in the spring, as well as another the released in the fall. So if you just take an example of this 23, the financial year, so we have released our released one. So if it's a released one, it goes as 23R1. So the released one we have released recently in month of May, and then 23 the release 2. So it goes as 23R2 will be due to released on month of October. So likewise, that you will get the 2 major releases in 1 fiscal year, part of that the releases. As well as in IFS. So when there's a new release, what we will do is from the IFS perspective is that we will publish all these the new features related informations to the customer. So as a customer, you can see these informations in your lifecycle experience portal that you will get it through the IFS Cloud offering. So in that the lifecycle experience portal, you can see what are the new features introduced. And then as a customer, you can go through those new features and then see what's the impact into those features. You can test it in your test environment, and then those can be applied into your live the use production environment as well. So this is how that the releases process will work. And then as I mentioned, so this will be your evergreen solution, and then you will go into the evergreen state with moving into the IFS Cloud. Okay. And then if I just tell you on the latest initiatives, so we got a question also saying that if you move into the IFS Cloud, what will be the recommended the release that you have to go? So as Pasan said clearly that our recommendation is if you're moving into the IFS Cloud to go with the latest release available, because you as a customer, you can get the benefit of the latest releases or the functionalities available in the product. So if I just show you that from 2023 perspective, that one of our initiatives, one of our focus areas. So this is just a snapshot that high level I wanted to go through with that. So if you see that 23 initiative perspective, one of our strategic initiative is one of our strategic focus is on the enterprise asset management, the evolution. So if I just go into a bit of a detail into that, you can see that oil and gas solution is one of our key focus area. So in that the oil and gas perspective that we had the oil and gas extension in the apps 10 environment in IFS Cloud. So what we have done is that recently that we have finalized the development of the oil and gas extensions capability into the IFS Cloud. So because of that, now we started discussing with our existing customers who is in the older versions, and then we are discussing them to move it into the moving into the IFS Cloud solutions, because now our oil and gas solution is ready for those new customers to use it. So that's why you have seen one of our use cases of the existing customer that who has already been moved to that IFS Cloud because of the oil and gas solution. And then again, another focused area is that the asset performance management. So this is again that the continuous investment is applying from the IFS perspective for the asset performance management. So as a customer in 23R1 release that we have introduced few of the capabilities on the asset performance management, where you can see some of the health of the assets. So there are a few dashboards introduced where you can see the overall view of the asset, as well as if you wanted to drill down into the individual assets to identify their specific health, that the conditions those are available part of the applications now, as well as recently we have introduced that the anomaly detection capability. So this is where, let's say, if the assets are connected to a IoT, connected to the sensors, when you capture that the real-time informations, now with that the anomaly detections, what you can do is the system is capable to show you in a calendar view saying that there are abnormalities identified, and then it will push it into asset performance calendar for the asset managers to view that the abnormalities identified through the sensors. And then on top of that, managers or the asset, the users are able to take actions, whether they wanted to report those abnormalities as a work orders or whether they wanted to ignore it and to monitor those performance for some period of time. So those kind of improvements or that the functionality is added on the anomaly detection the part. So this has a, as it mentioned, it has a continuous investment are happening from the R&D perspective. So you can see lots of new features introduced even our next releases as well as in 24 for the function 24 releases as well as on this perspective, asset performance management perspective, that we have introduced again the sets of new features or the enhancement for the failure mode and the effects and the critical analysis perspective as well. And then on the, if I go into the next sections, where the time zone management, so we have introduced a functionality for the time zone management. So this is where that if there's any, the large organizations who support the multiple customers in a different time zones, and if there are users who support these customers in the multiple time zones, so there are capability that they can manage those time zones according to with the flexibility according to the different requirements. So we have introduced those features. And then again, from the enterprise asset management perspective, now we are again focusing on as a key feature as a work planning and scheduling. So if you know existing feature on our maintenance scheduling capability, if you know that we do have the maintenance planning board. So this was the solution we used in our older versions on the planning perspective. Now in that the IFS cloud perspective, mainly on the 23 the releases, that we are obsolete, making that component obsolete, and then we are giving the more focus into the work planning and scheduling. So if you're an existing customer, you see lots of new features adding on work planning and scheduling, and then we'll obsolete that the work maintenance planning board, because it has a bit of an older look and feel, and then kind of older interfaces. Now, because of that, on the work planning and scheduling, it has the improved user experience, improved functionalities, and then it catered to the multiple different scenarios as well. So this is one of the now the focus component that we're introducing on the enterprise asset management perspective. And then from the product excellence perspective, we're introducing some of the core product features into the document management. This is where on the RFQ perspective, that there are new enhanced features added into the product, and then there are new enhancement capabilities added on the B2B portal perspective. Even from the B2B supply portal perspective, there are enhancements added into the core product perspective as well. And then again on mainly for the customers in engineering and construction. So there are proof of concepts happening on to investigate mainly on the 3D visualizations and the building information modeling concepts. And then those related inputs are happening on mainly on to support that the customer's requirement, that they have it on the construction the phase mainly. So this is again that one of the focused area on 23 initiative perspective. And then again that mainly as the enterprise asset management, we were focusing on our service management capability as well, because service management is one of our best of breed for module, or the product we do have it within the IFS cloud. So based on that, the service management, we giving that the capability, we are enhancing the capability on the resource management, geocoding functionalities, and then even as a customer, you will see that the capabilities introducing on the resource management, we are introducing the concepts like the crew management, all those things on top of that, the service management. So this is our main focus, is to have the next generation service management solutions within the IFS cloud. And then again that aviation is again one of our focused area. As you know that we do have lots of customers in aviation and the defense industry. So this is that again that the one of the key focused even on that the 23 perspective. So there are a few features introduced mainly to streamline the non-routine, the corrective action process within that the IFS cloud, mainly on that the maintenance MRO perspective. So this is again few features introduced on the aviations and defense perspective. So this is just a high level, the snapshot on the key focused areas in 23 high level initiative perspective. And some of these features are already available in the product. As I mentioned, because the 23 R1, the release is already available to the customer. And then some of these features, some part will be available into the customers in the October release, that which is coming in our 23 R2 release. So that's in high level what I wanted to highlight on the today's sessions. Yeah, anything, any questions from anyone or any areas that wanted to discuss?
Thanks, Manuja. That was very interesting. A lot of interesting things coming up for IFS Cloud this year. I'm sure everyone's very excited for that. We actually do have a question from once again from Manulak. How would you compare the efforts between the apps 9, apps 10 upgrade, on-premise upgrade, and apps 10 to cloud, on-premise to cloud?
Pasan is taking it over.
No, that's for you, Manuja.
Okay, so what the question is that, can you just repeat the question, Ramesh?
So how would you compare the efforts between the apps 9 to apps 10 upgrade, on-premise upgrade, versus the apps 10 to cloud, on-premise to cloud upgrade?
So that when you do that the upgrade from apps 9 to the IFS cloud, or that from the apps 10 to the IFS cloud, so what we have to do is that we need to understand from the IFS perspective, we need to understand into detail what the functionalities that you're using, and then based on that we have to take a decisions how we do that the upgrade. So as Pasan said, we have to evaluate that the criteria on whether you wanted to do that the upgrade. If it's a standard upgrade, we do have the scripts available part of the IFS cloud, where we can lift that your existing solutions directly from that to the IFS cloud. Or if not, if you do have different other criteria where if there are any creams built, or if there are any other requirements where you need to do the reimplementations, then based on that we have to do that the decision. So you can do that the direct upgrade from that apps 9 into the IFS cloud, or we can do that the direct upgrade from apps 10 to the IFS cloud as well. So there is no limitations on your current versions where you want to do the upgrade. So only thing is that we have to discuss with you to understand whether you really wanted to upgrade it or that the re-implement it. As I said, if it's upgrade, we do have these pre-standard scripts available as a methodology where that we can use that approach and then can upgrade you from that to IFS cloud. I believe that I answered the question.
Yeah. Hassan, any comments on Manuja's answer? Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'll add something as well. Now, the question, 1 lakh. So, whatever the version you are right now, if you are considering for an upgrade or the implementation, so we have an approach that we do with the customer, which you call as leap. So what we do there is we actually, now the points what we explain right here. So those points has to be discussed with the customer to make the decision how we are going to go down the road, right? So that discussion will be done initially through a couple of workshops where we arrange with the customer, and based on the workshops that we do and looking at the changes, the modifications that you have in your current version, we will do an evaluation and present you a proposal like what you should take as your selected choice and how much effort that you're looking at. So if you take only the core application upgrade, it's more or less a fixed effort that you're looking at. But the delta, the deviation happens with the customization. How much changes do you have in the application and how much you want to retain? So if you are planning to retain a lot of customization that you're having right now, retention means that you need to bring that version to the cloud version as well. So the technology is different, right? So if you're in apps 8, apps 9, the technology used in the apps 8, apps 9, apps 10 is different from the technology in apps IFS cloud. So you have to upgrade those customizations as well, which is done through a code uplift. We call this a code uplift. So it's a software engineering related work. That's where the additional effort comes in if you're looking at the upgrade. Even if you're going for a re-implementation, if you want to have some customizations, you will have to put that same effort to bring that customizations to the cloud version. So it will not automatically get transferred to the cloud version. So the effort calculation, you can't directly say this is the effort, but if you are comparing from 8 to 10 versus 8 to cloud, probably the effort would be higher to cloud. But right now, going for 10 would be not the most recommended approach, because IFS 10 will get obsolete by 2025. Then afterwards, it will be on the IFS cloud. So any customer who's looking at an upgrade should always look at cloud, considering where you are in the timeline. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Thanks, Pasan. Do we have any more questions? Okay. Anything? All right, so I think that's it for today. Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today in the first of our Evergreen series of webinars. We'll have many more like this in the coming months. Again, based on customer questions, answering your questions, trying to answer specific questions, try to help you evaluate your digital strategy. I also have something exciting to announce. For the first 5 people who reach out, you can have a one-on-one conversation with IFS. Thank you. I would like to thank IFS for sponsoring that little token. I'll drop my email address in the chat, so you can reach out to me directly. And we will be sharing the presentation and the recording as well as some of the case studies that Manu shared in an email next week. And also feel free to reach out to me regarding anything we discussed today or anything else. Absolutely no obligations. We can just have a one-on-one chat to discuss anything you feel like you need help on. Absolutely no obligations from your end. Just you can feel free to pick our brains. Okay. So my email is now in the chat. Feel free to copy it and send me a mail, and we will send you guys the recording as well as the case studies and the presentations next week. Feel free to reply that mail as well. Okay, great. Okay, thank you guys for joining us. See you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.